Welcome. Welcome back for another episode of the One More Round live chat. I am your host, Gav. And I do this shit every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday. I give you guys MMA and boxing tips, tricks, parlays, all that shit. And what we're here to give you again is another live chat talking about what had happened over the weekend. We had a couple switch ups at middleweight in the UFC. We had some fights get booked. We got Bellamere getting a win. Lots of things. So if you're unfamiliar with the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. Main card minute on your left, one more round fights on your right. Scan the QR codes below. We are trying to get to 550 subscribers, so please do not hesitate to like and subscribe the channel. Come on, baby. We're on the way. Don't forget 550. We're trying to get there. But anyways, don't forget to follow on social too, youtube.com/one more round fights. One more round fights on Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, but on X, it's one more round F8. Fuck you, Elon. Screw your character limit. If you want to send anything to the channel, send it to one more round fights at gmail.com. And as usual, shout out to our sponsor, W.GG. Use promo code one more round for 10% off. But we got to talk about a lot of things. I mean, Super RIZIN 44 happened. UFC on ABC 9 happened. Claressa Shields versus Lani Daniels happened. Xander Zayas versus Jorge Garcia happened. We got some boxing cards upcoming this weekend. We got a midweek boxing card on DAZN. There's a lot of things to talk about. So, without further ado, let me get this show started. Starting a little quicker than we normally do here, but it is what it is. Let's get into some MMA updates while we have it. Like I said, Bellamere got a big win, and she's been chirping a lot this week, saying a bunch of possible matchups in the future, and even going as far as to saying Maya Lesnar and her should have a fight in the future. Things happening, but glad to see that she got a win. Shout out to Frank Mir, an MMA legend. So glad to see that the fighting family genes are alive and well. And other things in MMA, Aaron Pico just got his fight rebooked. He's been linked to multiple opponents over the last few weeks as he's been signed to the UFC since leaving PFL, that used to be his affiliation, because of going there from Bellator. But Aaron Pico will be taking on Lerone Murphy in UFC Abu Dhabi. In UFC Abu Dhabi. On the broadcast, they announced it. Now Pico's 13-4. He's set to face undefeated featherweight contender Lerone Murphy, 16-0-1 in the co-headlining bout of UFC 319, which takes place at the United Center in Chicago on August 16th. That is the Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev card. So we will be seeing that fight then. Excited to see that. I can't wait to see either guy. Lerone Murphy, always an exciting fighter, and I want to see what Aaron Pico coming into the UFC does. But if you have to make me choose right now, I'm choosing Lerone Murphy, the undefeated guy, much more UFC savvy. He's been around way longer. And a lot of these guys, when they first come into the UFC, as we've seen this weekend with Marcus Buchecha, it doesn't go well. So I have to side with going against Aaron Pico in that fight. Just my financial advisory there. Also announces Manon Fiorot and Jasmine Jasudavicius at UFC Vancouver. So that's going to be a good matchup. Real tough matchup for Jasmine, getting a very powerful striker with great takedown defense. So hopefully she can implement her game plan. But I'm excited to see that. And otherwise in boxing, Dillon Danis is back in the headlines. Dillon Danis is to fight for an MMA title at Misfits Boxing 22. That is the upcoming card in Manchester, England on August 30th. That's just over a month from now. The Misfits MMA light heavyweight title will be on the line, although the matchup will be contested at 170 pounds. Interesting. I don't know if they're just naming their weight classes differently, or they're just letting 270-pound fighters fight for a title that is 2 weight classes above their weight class. So I don't know what's happening there, but very excited to see that Dillon Danis will get back into competing, because we've seen him in the headlines for everything but that recently, up to the Logan Paul debacle, fights with random fighters like Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor in parking lots. There's a lot of things going on with him. So I'm glad to see he's getting back into MMA. But as for MMA updates, also Ben Askren was talking about all the people that were talking to him as he was recovering, like Jorge Masvidal and Jake Paul. He has a funny way of looking at it. So if you feel like getting a little pick me up, go ahead and go look at Ben Askren's latest updates and his posts, because he's making everybody feel a little bit better. So shout out to Ben Askren. I hope he is on his way to a speedy recovery. That's it for MMA updates. Let's get into the real shit that we came here to talk about. Let's talk about Reinier de Ridder defeats Robert Whittaker by decision. De Ridder absolutely overwhelms Robert Whittaker with his pressure. Knees up the middle, absolute ones and twos, following those knees, catching him on the exit. De Ridder looked pretty damn good. I mean, I had this fight for Whittaker, if you ask me, because it was a very close fight, regardless of who you had winning the fight. I mean, early rounds, it looked like Whittaker was doing Whittaker things. He was bouncing on his toes, beating up De Ridder, and then he even dropped De Ridder at one point after De Ridder looked like he was going to finish the fight at the beginning of round 3. Robert Whittaker comes out of nowhere. The big overhand right hurts him, drops him, follows up with a barrage of punches, can't get the finish. Reinier de Ridder clinches him up, gets back into the fight, swarms him in round 4 and 5 with overwhelming pressure. Those knees, like I said, got a couple takedowns, held him down for a good portion of the fight, landed some strikes while he was in top position. And it seems as if Reinier de Ridder convinced the judges that he'd done enough to win the fight. Now, for me, I had it a Whittaker 48-47, but it ended up shaking out to be a De Ridder 48-47. De Ridder looks good, man. I have no arguments there. I mean, both guys fought a really tough fight. They both did really well in that fight. I have no complaints. It was a fun war. Both guys gave it all that they could, and it was very close. The judges having it 47-48, 48-47, 48-47. So one judge giving it to Rob. If another judge swung the other way, it would have been a Robert Whittaker fight. So it is what it is. It was very close. Nobody could be mad at that fight because they both poured it out. And De Ridder looks like he's of that top 5, because usually these guys that beat Robert Whittaker, they're something. The guys that have beaten Robert Whittaker are Dricus du Plessis, Israel Adesanya, Hamza Chimaev, and now Reinier de Ridder. So good luck to him in his future endeavors, but there's a future matchup and future matchups that I'd like to see him in. And mainly for me, I'd love to see De Ridder Strickland. Those are two matchups, two styles that will come towards each other the whole time. How is Strickland's defense going to deal with those knees coming up the middle? How is De Ridder going to deal with the offense of Strickland, just nailing him ones and twos and then following up with follow-up strikes and then going berserker on him? It's an interesting style matchup. So I'd like to see Strickland versus De Ridder next. That would be a really fun matchup, and that kind of decides who the real number 1 contender kind of will be. And if that's not a good number 1 contender fight for you, well, we also have the winner or loser of Imavov and Bohalio. So Nasruddin Imavov could get the De Ridder fight. Bohalio could get the De Ridder fight. Any matchup of those 4, I would absolutely love. And for Robert Whittaker, I'd like to see Brendan Allen or Fluffy Hernandez. I'd like to see him take a step down and see where he is in his fighting tenure, because it looks like he's still one of the best still, but has he slipped a little bit now? Has Reinier de Ridder gone down and beaten a Robert Whittaker that isn't at the best, at the tip top of his form anymore? So I'd like to see if Reinier de Ridder could get that win against any of those 3 guys, and I'd like to see if Robert Whittaker could get that win against Brendan Allen or Fluffy Hernandez. But yeah, so those are the matchups I see for either of those guys. I don't see anything else besides that for them. Peter Harris in the house. Whittaker was robbed. That's what I'm thinking, man. I felt like Whittaker won that fight. And so I don't know. It was a very close fight. Either way, I think we could switch up either what he's doing, whether he's fighting an up and comer or Brendan Allen. Or if he's getting either, he could also get the loser of Bohalio and Imavov too. That wouldn't be a bad matchup for Robert Whittaker. So I would like either of those. Infrared's is such an effective use of knees in all forms. Yeah, it was just so impossible to get away from because you put your hands down to block that knee, and great, you block the knee, but now you have to eat a 1 and a 2 coming from De Ridder, and sometimes a 2 then a 1. So the 2's coming, you dodge the 2, and then the 1 catches you with the jab on the way out. So yeah, very tough fights not to go against. That's why I'd love to see it against Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland and Renier De Ridder would be a fun matchup for me. And Lazy Bed blowing that gas. You already know. Oh, man. All right, so let's talk about the rest of the card, though. I mean, it was a pretty solid card. UFC on ABC 9. It was in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia. I'm sorry, United Arab Emirates. It was a solid card, though. There was a lot of good finishes on the card. There was a lot of good matchups, a lot of good close decision fights and wars on this fight. So let's go top to bottom. Like I said, Renier De Ridder defeats Robert Whittaker via split decision, 48-47, 47-48, 48-47. And then in the co-main, Peter Yan defeats Marcus McGee via unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. Peter Yan winning rounds 2 and 3, in my opinion. Round 1 going to Marcus McGee, doing a lot of good work, staying on the defense. Pretty even round. It could have gone either way, but then I saw Peter Yan just wearing on Marcus McGee, landing the bigger strikes in those exchanges, landing with more pop. And then as Marcus McGee exited, he landed a couple more strikes, even cutting Marcus McGee in this fight. So this was completely a Peter Yan fight. I don't see any way that they could have given this to Marcus McGee. He just used his veteran experience in the octagon, and he rode that to victory. Shara Bullet Magomedov defeats Marc-Andre Barriault via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. I would have gave this a 29-28, but 30-27 seems right as well. Shara Bullet looking good, beating him up with kicks the entire time until Marc-Andre Barriault lands a big overhand that breaks the nose of Shara Bullet, almost dropping him, stumbling him. And then Shara Bullet really has to fight fire with fire at that point, and then he hurts Marc-Andre Barriault and drops him. So it was a crazy fight, and then Shara Bullet comes back in round 3, lands a couple good strikes, beats him up against the fence, and, makes it a nice bloody war, but Shara Bullet gets the win. He needed that win after losing to Michael Venom Page's last time out. So shout out to Shara Bullet. The one-eyed pirate with the red beard got the dubber. And we had him in the parlay, and he did his job, but Rob Whittaker didn't end up getting the job done in the end. We also had Peter Yan in the parlay, so unfortunately we didn't get the job done with Rob Whittaker. It was that close, cut it one different direction, and we get the win, but it is what it is. Asua Mabayev defeats Jose Ochoa via unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Asua Mabayev doing exactly what I thought he would. He'd grapple, get onto the back, make Jose Ochoa carry his weight, win the judges over with his control time and his activity. And that's what he did. Jose Ochoa looked pretty good. He was trying to land big strikes, even hurting Asua Mabayev as he grabbed a hold of the knee. He'd eat a couple knees on the way in, even some other strikes. I think he ate a head kick at one point, but got taken down right after it. So Jose Ochoa made a good account of himself. I'd like to see him in a few flyweight matchups. I wish Joshua Vanden ascend as quickly as he did, because that him versus Jose Ochoa would be a banger. But I like Charles Johnson also for Jose Ochoa. So, that's a great matchup as well. But Asua Mabayev looking great at flyweight, finally bouncing back over that Manel Kape TKO loss. And then Bogdan Guskov defeats Nikita Krylov via TKO punches, round 1, 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Guskov got the job done as a dog, baby. Big overhand right, knocks down Nikita Krylov. Krylov trying to get back to his feet on all fours. Big hooks and ground and pound landing from Bogdan Guskov, and the referee has to call it. Guskov gets it done. Krylov been in the UFC 12 years now, still making the same mistakes. So unfortunately for him, a young and up-and-comer is going to take his spot and look a lot better. He's going to have to climb up that ladder yet again. Sucks to suck. Bryce Mitchell defeats Saeed Nurmagomedov via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Bryce Mitchell getting hurt in this fight. Saeed Nurmagomedov landed a big strike on him, hurting Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell using his grit and toughness to get back into the fight. wrestle Said Nurmagomedov, use his grappling savvy, get on top most of the time, land the more better strikes, and stay more active. And the judges thought he won the fight. Bryce Mitchell doing fantastic since moving down from 145 pounds to 135 pounds. So I'd like to see what Bryce Mitchell can do next. We've seen that his grappling stock can work against a lot of these guys. And if you could beat Said Nurmagomedov, you could beat a lot of these guys at bantamweight. So I'm excited to see the matchups they get for Bryce Mitchell. I liked how he's poking fun on social media, how he was saying, send your kids 2-3 years to Arkansas and forget, like that Dagestani quote, send them 2-3 years Dagestan and forget. So he's saying that his wrestling is better than theirs. Said Nurmagomedov, not an actual Nurmagomedov, but I do believe he's pretty close with that camp. Muslim Salikov gets a big win over Carlos Leal. Knockout punch, round 1, 42 seconds. One of the best KOs we've seen from him. Big overhand right early in round 1. Hurts Leal, finishes up with a couple strikes, and the referee has to step in and call it. Muslim Salikov with a huge win. Now he is associated with the Nurmagomedov camp, Team Eagle. So excited to see the matchups. He's been doing a lot of good stuff at welterweight in the UFC. So he should get a fun matchup next. He's still got a lot left in the tank, surprisingly, for what, a 37, 39-year-old guy. So shout out to him. And speaking of 39-year-old guys, Davey Grant defeats Damon Blackshear via unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. Davey Grant wanting it more than Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear showing that his gas tank is proven to be a problem yet again in his career. Damon Blackshear just giving up the late rounds, doing well early, making the exchanges work, getting on top, controlling Davey Grant, but just couldn't replicate that in rounds 2 or 3. Davey Grant landing a lot of good strikes on Damon Blackshear, just overworking him, pushing him back, and his pressure was too much for Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear just wilted, gave up in the later rounds, and Davey Grant ran away with the victory. Damon Blackshear proving yet again that every time he climbs up the ladder, strings a few wins together. He just has a hiccup here and there. There's still some holes in his game that he's got to clean up. So hopefully he's still young. He could come back from this. But Davey Grant at 39 still pushing these young guys back. So as we've seen a lot of times in these few weeks, these older guys in these promotions, they're turning these young guys back. They still got it. So it's not all about being the younger, stronger fighter anymore. It's still about knowing how to win the fight. Tabitha Ricci defeats Amanda Ribas via TKO elbow, round 2, 2 minutes and 59 seconds. Ribas got elbowed right in her eye socket and just wilted from it. She fell down, folded like a chair. Tabitha Ricci landed a couple more strikes, and the referee called it. I mean, Amanda Ribas wasn't looking too good. She kept getting pushed back by Ricci, who usually isn't the stronger fighter, but she looked like the stronger fighter in this fight. Put her up against the fence, just beat her up in round 1. It was a very close round, but I still gave it to Ricci. And then Ricci does more of the same in round 2, lands that nice elbow, drops Amanda Ribas, and the fight's over. Tabitha Ricci looking great. Amanda Ribas looking like, was she ever really that good? It's kind of a question at this point because we've seen so many losses out of Amanda Ribas at this point. I mean, her entire record is just littered with pinks and reds. I mean, in the last few years, she's only won 3 fights in the last 5 years. Verna Jandiroba, which looks great, but Viviana Rojo, which doesn't look great, and Luana Pinheiro, which she had to come back from losing that fight to win. So she's lost to Tabitha Ricci, Mackenzie Dern, Rose Namajunas, Macy Barber, Caitlin Chukagi, and Marina Rodriguez. She's lost to everybody, and Poliana Vaiana. She's lost to all of these people. Well, Poliana Vaiana was not in the UFC. That was in Jungle Fight 83, but all of these losses aren't looking great for telling us the level that Amanda Ribas is at. So hopefully she could clean up some things in her game and come back even stronger, because I know this was a little bit of a layoff for her in this fight. Even her last fight, oh no, she fought in January and lost, but I guess being active isn't working for her because being active got her finished twice in 2025. So maybe she needs to take a little time off, come back stronger in 2026, go back to the drawing board, but this wasn't her fight at all. Billy Elikana defeats Ibo Aslan in an uneventful fight by unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Stephen Nguyen defeats Muhammad Yahya by TKO doctor stoppage in an absolute war. Martin Nguyen dropping him, I think it was 6 times in the fight, 5 times in round 1. Also hurting him causing a giant orb over his left eye right on screen. And yeah, the referee had to call it in between the rounds. The win gets the doctor's stoppage. Well, I guess the doctor had to call in between the rounds because opponent couldn't really see anymore. But it was an absolute war. If there's any fight you want to go back to see the slobber knocker, that's Win versus Yaha. Second fight on the prelims on UFC on ABC 9. It was absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. And then Martin Budai defeats Marcus Buchecha via unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. Buchecha coming over from one championship. He's a grappler. He is a multiple-time jiu-jitsu world champion. And yeah, he ended up losing to Martin Budai. Just didn't have enough energy, didn't have enough top control. And he ended up losing the fight. It is what it is. As we've seen time and time again, these guys coming from other promotions like PFL, Bellator, one championship, you name it. They usually take an L in their first fight here and come back stronger. Great examples are Patricio Pitbull, Ill Will Brooks, Eddie Alvarez, all these types of guys. They came back stronger. And Eddie Alvarez even went on to become a champion. So only time will tell for Marcus Buchecha. And if you're wondering who got the $50,000 bonuses from UFC Fight Night, UFC on ABC 9, Whittaker to Ritter, it was Charboutin and Marc-Andre Barriault for fight of the night because it was a slobber knocker. Charboutin getting his nose broken, Marc-Andre Barriault lasting the distance of the fight, almost getting finished himself. It was a crazy fight. That's deserved. Also, performance of the night for Muslim Salikov and Steven Nguyen. Steven Nguyen with all those knockdowns absolutely deserved it. And that big overhand from Muslim Salikov deserved it as well. So shout out to those guys for getting the 50K bonuses. And that does it for UFC on ABC 9. Peter says, good call. I'd like to see RDR knee and cuddle against Strickland's jab and teeth. It'll be interesting, right? It's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Who's going to win that? Immovable force, unstoppable object. Who wins? Oh, sorry. Unstoppable force, immovable object. I flipped it. Phoenix in the house. What's up, Donks? What up, Phoenix? How you feeling? He says Hebos should be cut, in my opinion, but they'd probably give her one more time. I mean, she's a draw, obviously, so they're not just going to cut her, especially in a division so thin and a girl that could bounce between divisions, 115 and 125. But I think they just need to match her accordingly. I mean, all these girls they've been matching her up with are top 5 contenders, even though every single one she's lost to. So, I mean, it would make sense for her. I mean, Mackenzie Dern, Rose Namajunas. I mean, not Macy Barber, but Caitlin Chukagian was top 5 at some point. Tabitha Ricci's looking like a top 5er. She did beat Verna Jandiroba, but you know what I mean? Like, all these girls are pretty good. Maybe she needs to fight a fringe top 15er. You know, let's look at the rankings. What would be good for Amanda Ribas next? You know, let's look at strawweight. Looks like she wants to stay at strawweight. That's where she'll have a size advantage. What about a Loma Lukban fight? Or a Yasmin Lucindo fight? You know, those are solid fights for Amanda Ribas. But I like the Loma Lukman fight the best for her. Maybe even a Tisha Pennington fight, but I think Tisha retired, right? If she did retire, why is she still ranked? But maybe she just came back. I can't remember. But yeah, Peter says the guy that got up 7 times deserved a bonus too. Laugh out loud. Yes, he did. It's kind of criminal that he didn't, especially since he's going to have extensive surgeries with whatever the fuck happened behind that eyeball, an orbital fracture. I don't know what it was, but it's going to take a long time to heal and it's going to be very painful. So that sucks for him. I hope he got some money from Uncle Dana because what the hell, man. And then Phoenix says, yeah, I get that she is there for a reason. All those contender contracts, though, bro. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, maybe she should fight a contender, somebody that came over contender series. I know there's not a lot of female prospects, but the ones that have come over are worth something, right? Match them up against Hebras. Maybe she's the new gatekeeper of the top 15. Who knows? Phoenix says, haha, Peter. But yeah, man. That's it for the UFC stuff. There was some other MMA shit that happened, though. Super RIZIN 4 happened, for those that were wondering. Nobody was, but I'll tell you what happened. Oh, yeah. Mikuru Asakura defeats Kleber Koik by split decision. He gets his revenge. If you don't know, Asakura had fought Kleber Koik Ertz in the past, losing by submission, triangle choke, June 13th of 2021 at RIZIN 28 in Tokyo, Japan. and he finally gets his rematch, and he ends up getting the split decision win. This was a 3-round fight at featherweight. That's 66 kilograms for those wondering. And yeah, he gets his revenge. They are now 1-1. Excited to see what happens there. And unfortunately for our boy Patricky Pitbull, he loses to Shunto Nomura via unanimous decision. Patricky just showing again that he still doesn't have the gas tank. He stands in front of these guys too much, gets controlled, and Patricky doesn't come up with the win. Nomura looking great. Yaman defeats Masanori Kanahara via KO, round 3, 2 minutes and 51 seconds. Cuomo Akimoto defeats Koki Akata via submission, rear naked choke, round 1, 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Naoki Inoue defeats Ryuya Fukuda via unanimous decision. Seika Izawa defeats Yujin Shin via submission, arm triangle choke, round 1, 2 minutes and 24 seconds. Tatsuya Ando defeats Jiyoung Jiang via submission, rear naked choke, round 2, 3 minutes and 52 seconds. Mayuri Suda defeats Noeru Narita via submission, armbar, round 2, 3 minutes and 2 seconds. Alexander Soldakin defeats Mikio Ueda via TKO, round 2, 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Marek Samkuk defeats Jose Augusto via unanimous decision. Makoto Takahashi defeats Ersin Yamamoto via submission, guillotine choke, round 1, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Albek Gadzamatov defeats Takaki Soya via TKO, round 3, 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Yuki Ito defeats Nizumulo Zulu via unanimous decision. Hiromasa Akikubo defeats Jose Shorty Torres via unanimous decision. You might have remembered Ogikubo from the flyweight edition of Tough, where they gathered all the champions from around the world, and of course Jose Shorty Torres from Brave FC, fighting in the UFC and other promotions as well. Great flyweight, bantamweight champion. Yuki Motoya defeats Hiroya via unanimous decision. Tashihiro Ashida defeats Naoki Tanaka via unanimous decision. Satoshi Kamiyama defeats Masashi Inada via TKO, round 2, 2 minutes and 28 seconds. And Shogo Kuriaki defeats Taiga Kawabe via unanimous decision. And that's it for Super RIZIN 4. Phoenix says they should start that contenders versus gatekeepers. Let's fucking go. I mean, honestly, what are they there for, right? They're basically litmus tests of the division. Usually we use them to see who separates the top 15 from the top 5, who separates the top 15 from the top 10. We might as well be using them to separate who should even, be considered to be in the UFC. You know what I mean? Give him one of those fights every now and then, throw him a bone. Because, it'll take a contender like 2 L's to get bounced out. So your first L in the UFC, you kind of get a mulligan. First fight in the UFC, octagon jitters, all that shit. So, yeah, that might not be a bad idea. Why not? Why the fuck not? Unfortunately, no fighter spotlight this week. I was thinking about doing Tabitha Ricci, but Tabitha Ricci, well known. I don't think we should do a fighter spotlight for her. And then, everybody else kind of well known already. Bryce Mitchell, Muslim Salikov, Davey Grant, Shara Bullet, Peter Yan, DeRitter. Like, there's, it didn't make sense to do a fighter spotlight this week. There was no PFL. Nobody on RIZIN really stuck out to me that's like, up and coming. So, no fighter spotlight this week, unfortunately. But plenty of fights happening next week. I got a couple people in mind for fighter spotlights for next week, so look for it to come back next week. Don't you worry your pretty little heads. Okay? Let's get into some boxing, shall we? Let's get into some boxing. Claressa Shields defeats Lani Daniels. Unanimous decision, 100-90, 99-91, 99-91. The GWOAT does it again. The GWOAT absolutely piecing her up, styling on her left and right, jabs, crosses, circling off, pounding her to the body, putting her in corners, beating her up, putting her up against the ropes. This was a fantastic performance from Claressa Shields. She routed Lani Daniels. Lani Daniels had nothing for the GWOAT. And yeah, she defends her undisputed heavyweight title. Claressa Shields is your champion at women's heavyweight. And don't you forget it. The GWOAT coming back and reminding everyone of exactly who she is. So yes, unanimous decision. At middleweight, in the co-main, Tony Harrison defeats Edward Diaz via unanimous decision, 96-93, 98-91, 97-92. At heavyweight, Bryce Taylor defeats Robert Sims via majority decision, 80-72 across the board. For the WBA super lightweight interim title, Samantha Worthington defeated Victoire Pitot via majority decision, 99-91, 95-95. 96-94. One of those judges had it a landslide victory. The other two seeing the fight very, very close. So shout out to Samantha Worthington pulling out the decision. We thought she'd pull out that win, and she did. Victoire Pitot, very tough fighter. Hard to finish. So we thought it would go the distance, and it did. And Samantha Worthington did enough to get the win and get the super lightweight interim title. And also at featherweight, Caroline Vare defeats Licia Budersa via unanimous decision, 99-91, 99-91, 98-92. And that does it for Claressa Shields versus Lani Daniels. Phoenix says peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. Let's do some more boxing, huh? Xander Zayas took on Jorge Garcia. I was actually watching this at Applebee's eating some dinner last night after getting drunk, watching the lemon twigs in the backyard party. It was cool. But anyways, on the main card, WBO super welterweight title fight between Xander Zayas and Jorge Garcia ends in unanimous decision, 116-112, 118-110, 119-109 for Xander Zayas. Gets a big win. He just was controlling the entire fight, beating up Jorge Garcia on his exits after he tried to land. All his punches would land on the arms of Xander Zayas, and Xander Zayas would fire back, catching him on the exit, on the chin, on the body, beating him up to the ropes, blooding him up a little bit towards the end of the fight. Xander Zayas completely dominates Jorge Garcia, in my opinion, and I think he kind of ran away with the fight. He looks pretty clean in his techniques, and he looked like he had everything firing on all cylinders. So shout out to Xander Zayas. He looked great in his victory. Also in a title fight for the WBC interim featherweight title, Bruce Carrington defeats Mateus Reita via unanimous decision, 119-109, 119-109, 120-108. Bruce Shoo Carrington gets the win in his hometown. Brooklyn, stand up. Bruce Shoo Carrington gets the win. And at super lightweight, Emiliano Vargas defeats Alexander Espinosa via first round KO. Go ahead and watch that KO, people. That was a fantastic one. On the prelims at welterweight, Rohan Polanco defeats Quinton Randall via unanimous decision, 97-93, 190, 99-91. At super flyweight, Juanita Lopez de Jesus defeats Jorge Gonzalez Sanchez via second round TKO. At featherweight, Jan Santana defeats Aaron Alameda via unanimous decision, 100-90 across the board. At super flyweight, Steven Navarro defeats Christopher Rios via unanimous decision, 77-75 across the board. And at lightweight, Julius Bayo defeats Brandon Ayala via unanimous decision, 40-36 across the board. And that does it for that card. Huh? That does it for me. Ramon Sefu says there was mad boxing matches yesterday. Yeah, there were so many. It was nice. It was nice because there was fights all day. There was UFC in the early morning from 12 until about 5 something. Then we had the boxing card with Claressa Shields. Then we had the Xander Zayas boxing card late night. It was fantastic. You know, I was happy with it, man. It was a great boxing. It was a great combat sports weekend for me. I was watching fights all day, no matter where I was. It was fan-freaking-tastic. But speaking of boxing, let's talk about the schedule coming up, right? Because there's a big schedule of fights coming up, huh? Other boxing notables. Let's talk about it. July 30th in Yokohama, Japan on DAZN. That's 3 days from now. That's a midweek card on DAZN, people. Don't forget. Title fight between Kenshiro Taraji and Ricardo Sandoval. 12 rounds for Taraji's WBC and WBA flyweight titles. Another title fight between Antonio Vargas and Daiga Higa. 12 rounds for Vargas's WBA bantamweight title. And a third title fight between Eric Rosa and Kiyosuke Takami, 12 rounds for Rose's WBA junior flyweight title. Tenso Isobe is fighting Joe Umazawa on the card, 4 rounds of junior featherweight. And Yuki Taniguchi is fighting Yukihiro Kitamura, 4 rounds at middleweight. August 2nd, in Chicago on DAZN, we have a fight between Oscar Duarte and Kenneth Sims Jr., 12 rounds of junior welterweight, as well as Regis Prograis taking on Joseph Jojo Diaz, 10 rounds of junior welterweight. Also on August 2nd in Long Beach, California, Jerwin Ancajas is taking on Ruben Dario Casero, 8 rounds of junior featherweight, and Gabriel Rosado is taking on Crispulo Javier Andino, 8 rounds at light heavyweight. August 15th in Yantanez, California on UFC Fight Pass. There's a title fight between Mizuki Hiruta and Naomi Cardenas Gomez, 12 rounds for Hiruta's WBO Women's Junior Bantamweight title. Also fighting on the card, Omar Trinidad and Lorenzo Parra, 10 rounds at featherweight, and Lupita Medina and Ruby Gutierrez, 8 rounds at atomweight. August 16th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on DAZN. There's a title fight between Nick Ball and Sam Goodman, 12 rounds for Ball's WBA featherweight title. Also, Anthony Kakachi is taking on Raymond Ford, 12 rounds at junior lightweight. Moses Itomo is taking on Dillian White, 12 rounds at heavyweight. David Adelia is taking on Filip Rojovic, 12 rounds at heavyweight. And Hayato Tatsumi is taking on Ashfaq, 6 rounds of junior lightweight. August 23rd, in Orlando, Florida on DAZN, Yoani Tellez is taking on Abbas Barao, 12 rounds of junior middleweight. There's a title fight between Stephanie Hahn and Paulina Angel, 10 rounds for Hahn's WBA lightweight title, women's lightweight title, by the way. And then Yankiel Rivera Figueroa is taking on Angelino Cordova, 12 rounds at flyweight. Also on the card, Jermaine Ortiz taking on Steve Claggett, 10 rounds of junior welterweight, in a title fight between Jasmine Artiga and Lynn Stanstrom, 10 rounds for Artiga's WBA Women's Junior Bantamweight title. Don't forget the September 13th Las Vegas fight on Netflix, Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford, 12 rounds for Alvarez's undisputed super middleweight championship. And November 22nd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the title fight between David Benavidez and Anthony Yarde, 12 rounds for Benavidez's WBC light heavyweight title. Also a title fight on the card announced last week. Jesse Rodriguez and Fernando Daniel Martinez, 12 rounds for Rodriguez's WBC junior bantamweight title and Martinez's WBA junior bantamweight title. Also 2 other title fights on the card, Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes, 12 rounds for the vacant WBO lightweight title, and a title fight between Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney, 12 rounds for Norman Jr.'s WBO welterweight title. So a lot of good boxing fights coming up. Don't forget to keep all of those in mind. All of them in mind, because I'm going to be watching every single one of them. Okay? And don't forget, we're trying to get to 550. So if you like what you're seeing on this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like the video. Subscribe, motherfuckers. Don't be weird. I'm just kidding. But yeah, like and subscribe, all right? We're trying to get to 550. We're trying to grow this channel and become something big. Let's give you guys picks before I get up on out of here, okay? Picks on UFC Vegas 108, otherwise known as UFC on ESPN 71. All right? Lots of fun fights on this card. I mean, it's a 4-fight prelims, and then we got a 6-fight main card. The main card and the prelims will be on ESPN and ESPN Plus, so don't forget to check that out. I mean, Rodolfo Vieira's on the card. Neil Magny's on the card. Shout out to my Haitian brother, Neil Magny. Kevin Vallejos, prospect on the card. Elvis Brenner and Esteban Ribovic, who recently got added to the UFC game, but we can't simulate it because Elvis Brenner is not in the game. We might be able to do Tatsuro Taira and Amir Albazi, so hopefully we can do that. Maybe Easy DS versus Neil Magny, but I think everything else is kind of cooked. So maybe we could get a 2-fight simulation on Friday. We'll see what happens there. But as for picks on this card, I got you guys with Amir Albazi. I look for him to have a gas tank to beat Tatsuro Taira in this fight. I like Esteban Ribovic to beat Elvis Brenner. His odds are probably going to be a little high since he's so good. We'll see what happens there. Kevin Vallejos, same situation there. I expect him to get a TKO finish. And Azamat Bakayev was supposed to be on this card, but he is not any longer. So I would probably have to go with Nathan Fletcher, possibly. I like Nathan Fletcher in this fight. And then Pierre Rodriguez is looking pretty solid too. But don't forget to come back Friday. That's where I'll give in-depth picks on what we will actually be betting. So don't forget to come back. for that. I got picks on PFL 8 too. Yeah, I got picks on PFL 8 too, mother. You know what I mean? Don't forget, that's in Atlantic City. That's Boardwalk Hall, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Thad Jean headlining the card. Obviously, I will be having a Haitian parlay this weekend. Thad Jean with JP St. Louis with Neil Magny. The Haitian parlay is absolutely going in across two promotions. MMA Haitian parlay will be going in, so don't you fucking worry. All right. I mean, it's not going to be an official parlay, but I'm just letting you know those names now. Okay. Those are the names now. But on PFL 8, I like Thad Jean to get a win, obviously, over Logan Storley. Logan Storley barely looked good in his last fight, and Thad Jean looks like a world beater, even knocking down Jason Jackson. Excellent takedown defense in that fight. I look for Thad Jean to get a finish here. Maybe a late finish TKO stoppage by the referee. I like Jacob Kasuba to win. I think he came over from PFL Mana, if I'm not mistaken. He's actually a really good fighter. I look for him to get a win. I like Asayal Ajuj. I like him to get a win also for PFL Mana. He's going to be a pretty big staple. And Mavlik Kabalayev. I mean, we've seen his wrestling. We've seen his grappling. We know he's going to be a fucking backpack and a spider monkey on Saturday or Friday, whichever day the fight is. But yeah, I like Kabalayev. I like Jean. I like Kasuba. I like Ajuj. And the Haitian parlay is going in. I like Neil Magny. He's probably going to be a sizable dog. So, hopefully we can get that last leg to cash. But I feel fully confident that Gene and JP St. Louis. So, hell yeah, those are the PFL picks. And my that's wrong. Boxing picks, last picks for you. Oscar Duarte versus Kenneth Sims Jr. I like a Duarte decision, dude. I like a Duarte decision. Obviously, it could go either way. Maybe just the fight to go the distance. I don't know what the odds are going to be just yet, but that's what I'm feeling on that card. I'm not feeling anything too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Just like this card this past weekend. I was feeling the Zayas decision. I was feeling the Shields decision, and guess what happened? That's what happened. I parlayed them both. I think I got them at almost plus 200. So yeah. It's a nice little thing to wake up to this morning. I'm like, oh, that boxing parlay cash. Let's go. You know what I mean? So hopefully Oscar Duarte can get the win over Kenneth Sims. Again, we're trying to get to 550. So don't forget to like and subscribe, mofos. Infrared says, what is your favorite fight of all time? For me, my favorite fight of all time. That is a great question. What would my favorite fight of all time be? I might have to go with there's a few. Nick Diaz, Robbie Lawler's up there. Chael Sonnen, Anderson Silva 1 is up there. Let's see. Oof. Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje's kind of up there for me just because of the stakes. Nate Diaz, Connor 1 is up there. Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. That's really, really tough. I don't know what my top fight would be, man. Justin Gaethje, Michael Johnson is up there. I'm just going through the weight classes to see if I could pick one out from each. GSP, Michael Bisping is up there because of the history on it. What else? Israel Adesanya, Kelvin Gastelum's up there. John Jones Gustafson 1 held a special place in my heart. Maybe John Jones Reyes is up there too. At heavyweight, it would have to be Ngannou versus Overeem. That knockout was crazy. Where he fucking snapped his head back. That was fucking wild. Yeah, I have a few for every weight class, but yeah, those have to be my favorites. Yeah, in no particular order. Rob Lawyer says, Gav, who's the GOAT of boxing? Shields or Taylor? Shields. If you put Shields and Taylor in there together, Shields is going to outbox her completely. She's just too big for her. She's going to push her back the whole time, land the better strikes. Katie Taylor could barely handle um, Amanda Serrano. Imagine the size of Claressa Shields doing the same thing. No way. Claressa Shields will absolutely piece her up. But yeah. Yeah, that's it for me, y'all. That's it. That's the show I'm doing. I'm getting the fuck up out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy your Monday. Whatever you got going on, go enjoy life, I guess. Go hit the beach. Go do something fun. You feel me? I hope I will. Rob says, you think Bobby Knuckles goes down to 170? Not a chance. He's staying at 185. Guys rarely go down, especially at the bigger weight classes later in their career. So I think Bobby will stay at 185. And if anything, he'll take a couple more fights and ride off into the sunset. But I don't see him going down. No fucking way. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Again, don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to get to 550. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Scan the QR codes to become part of the family. Main Card Minute, one more round fights. Main Card Minute, where we do the UFC watch-alongs. One more round fights, where we do the PFLs. One championships. We do the CP units on Fridays. We do the live chats on Sundays. So don't forget to come on back. Scan the QR code below to become a fan of the channel. And that's where we put out the graphics and the parlays, one more round fights, all the socials. Okay. Again, I'm the host of this here show, Gaff. Sponsors, hit me up. Hit me up. I want to make some monies. Hit me up. Anyways, I'm getting the fuck up out of here, guys. Don't forget to enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully, you see some good fights this coming weekend. Lots of good fights coming. So let's root for the Haitians. Thad Jean, Neil Magny, JP St. Louis. Let's fucking go. Let's make some money this weekend. The parlays didn't hit last weekend, but you know I come back stronger when it don't. That's right. All right. So I'll see you guys Friday. Deuces.